Many times our users need to be able to create a database, and SQL just might be too complicated for them. So Microsoft has the Microsoft 365 Access database that we can use. There are multiple different pieces that make up an Access database. You don't have to use them all, but you certainly can. The first one is going to be tables. Now, tables are something that you have to have because this is where the data is stored. Without a table, there's no data and there's nothing to retrieve. And it's the first part of any new database when you create one. Queries are tools that retrieve the data and can manipulate the data in a way that you'd like. Then there are forms. This is typically what the user would see when they would open up the Access database. They're not going to look at a table, which is very difficult to follow. They're going to look at something user-friendly, a user-friendly interface to review the data. And reports. Reports are a little different from forms. Reports are going to summarize the data from tables. So, for instance, if you wanted to pull out a specific part of the table and create a summary of it for an executive, then a report is what you'd want to do. And finally, macros. Macros are automated tasks for repetitive actions. So instead of having to type the same code over and over, you create a macro that does it all in one keystroke. I'm in my Windows 11 computer and I'm going to type in Access in the search box and open it up. We can open up any one of many different templates or even search for templates or create a blank database. I'm going to start by creating an asset tracking database, which is something that a lot of companies can use. It's going to go ahead and prepare the template, and then it's going to create the table needed along with all the other forms and other objects. On the left-hand side, take a look. This is the list of all those different types of objects that we were talking about, such as tables, queries, forms, reports, etc. Now here we have a database with nothing in it. So I'm going to create a new asset. I'll just call this one laptop. And we'll say that the category is category 1. It's in good condition. The location, I'm just going to say location 1, but you'll probably want to edit it so that way it has an actual location. Now I want to put in the laptop price. Here you can see that this is a $ type of cell, just like you would see in Microsoft Excel, for example. Now I'm going to give it the current value is going to be $500, although the purchase price was $1,000. And now I'm going to give this owner. So I'll say Sally is the owner. And when I click away, it says, hey, I don't recognize Sally. Would you like to edit that? Yes, I would. So I'm going to create a new record for Sally. I'll just go ahead and leave it at that, but you'll probably want to fill in some more. Now Sally has a contact. Now, if we go into the acquired date, I'm going to say that this was purchased quite a while back. And now we have our asset. You can see there is an error in the acquired date. You can certainly go in and edit that so that way it shows the date instead of just the day. But we're going to move forward. And you may get an error message saying that you need to enable the security, which you can certainly do as well by clicking on the link when prompted. Now I've seen my tables, my queries, my forms. I'm going to go down to Report. I'm going to choose Assets by Location. And I'll right-click on that and choose Open. And it opens up in a new tab. Now it's showing me my laptop, my category, and my location as location 1. So if you can imagine a lot of different assets in here and you looking at assets by location, then you'll be able to see all those in one location here. You could also choose assets by owner, for instance, and click Open. And we can see that this laptop is owned by Sally. So we can see all the different assets owned by a particular person. And if you like, you can click on that user and then you can see that contact that was created earlier. So this is going to be a template that you can certainly use, but what if you'd like to create a brand new database? So I'll click on Blank Database and click Create. And it's going to start out with this table that you see here. Now the ID is super important. That's because every particular new line that you have in this database is going to have a unique ID. Otherwise, it might get confused. It wouldn't be searchable. So you have to have a unique ID in every table. This also allows you to take multiple tables and link them together when that makes sense. So for instance, if I have, say, 5 different tables, one table is for the location, one table is for the type of asset, one table is for the owner of that asset, you can certainly do that. And you can also link dates together in each of those tables, along with other fields. But that gets a little bit more complicated than what we're going to talk about today. What I'm going to do is create a parts database. So that way I can find parts very easily. So I'm going to close my table and I'm going to create a new one and right click and choose design view. And in that design view, I'm going to call this parts and click OK. And now the design view is ready to go. Design view allows us to design the table the way we want to see it once it's in the open view. So if it looks like the way you want to see it, great. If not, I can put in a description, for example, and I'll put in that this is the table for searching parts. All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and close it. Of course, I'll save it. Now I'm going to want to right click and choose open it. Now in open mode, it allows me just to go ahead and start adding those parts, and I can add the different fields in the columns at the top. So I'm going to choose where it says click to add. I'm just going to say that this is going to be a number. This is going to be my bin number, where my parts are located. Then it automatically adds in the next column. And I'll say that this is going to be short text. And this is going to be the part name. And that's it. It will ignore this click to add when it comes to the reporting portion. This is just so you can go ahead and add additional columns if you'd like. So I'm going to say that my very first part in bin 1 is going to be a keyboard. Then I'm going to say in bin 2, I've got a mouse. And I'll do one more, 3. I'll say this is a network switch. There we go. I got 3 different types of parts in 3 different bins. Now I'm going to go to where it says create, and I'll go to where it says form wizard, and I'll add in all these 3 different fields. Click next. I can choose the way it looks. I'll just leave it as columnar. Next. And I'll leave the name parts. And there we go. I've got my table, I've got my form. I can start searching through my parts simply by scrolling through. I can also add additional buttons in here as well that will allow me to go back and forth between the different records and do searches as well. You'll notice that there's no Copilot button in Microsoft Access, and that's just because Microsoft 365 doesn't currently have one for Access at this time. Access is an easy way to train staff on how to create their own databases for simple projects, but it can also be used for more complex databases that link to data from sources such as Microsoft SQL Server when needed.